What actually made the scenes for me was Rick. I have been saying all along, since I've been reviewing again, that I like that Rick has become really close to Sonny. And I think that Rick Hurst does a really good job of making all of his scenes more interesting. What's up, everybody? Here to talk about the last two episodes of General Hospital from April 3rd and April 6th, although probably more so yesterday's episode than Friday's episode. I feel like Friday's episode was definitely more so all about the funeral, Marco's funeral, and it really didn't pick up in that episode until the end. Plus, we had to deal with Molly getting surgery in that episode, and Cody by her side, as if I care. I think the biggest point of Friday's episode was the fact that Sonny wanted to attend Marco's funeral, even though that would likely upset Sidwell. Carly and Sonny bickered about that for a very long time. Sonny wanting to go to the funeral with his latest, most important sidekick, his brother Rick, and Carly being very against that. Carly tried to tell Sonny that imagine Morgan's funeral and Julian Jerome comes in. That is how Sidwell will feel, even though Sonny is innocent in this case. Carly also tried to, console Lucas at the funeral. There was more attendees at the funeral. Jordan again came and gave Sidwell her condolences, but Sidwell just wants her to get information on what the police are doing to find Marco's real killer. We had Laura at the funeral. We had Ava at the funeral. We had Lucy at the funeral. Always good to see Lucy every once in a while. Could do with her not being involved in one of Sidwell's stories, seeing as Sidwell is involved with too many stories already. But yeah, the ending to Friday's episode was Sonny and Rick arriving at the funeral to chat with Sidwell. Sonny saying he is there to pay his respects and say sorry for your loss, and Sidwell doesn't believe Sonny is sorry, but said you will be. That was our dramatic Friday ending with a threat from Sidwell to Sonny, and that's where yesterday's episode picked up, with Sidwell and Sonny and Rick at the funeral together. Sonny trying to convince Sidwell that he knows what it's like to be a grieving father, and Sonny trying to tell Sidwell that he didn't kill Marco. Sidwell thinks that Sonny had every reason to do it, and he's gotten away with too much for too long, which is true. But Sonny was talking about Morgan's murder and saying that if Sidwell focuses on him, he will be letting Marco's actual killer go. What actually made the scenes for me was Rick. I have been saying all along, since I've been reviewing again, that I like that Rick has become really close to Sonny. And I think that Rick Hurst does a really good job making all of his scenes more interesting. He always has on any soap he's ever been on, and he's doing it again here. I liked Rick sticking up for Sonny, saying that this is not Sonny's style. Marco being stabbed to death, it was extra cruel, also kind of messy. And, Rick again, when Sonny's leaving, giving Sidwell his condolences one more time. I am also glad that they just kind of brought Sonny more to the forefront of this story again. He's kind of felt like the odd person out in this big storyline that's all connected. Even though he's supposed to be one of Sidwell's main rivals, I haven't felt like they've done a good job as of late of making that known. They're making it known again here, even though Sonny is innocent in it all. But yeah, Rick being by Sonny's side is making it more interesting to me. When Sidwell was alone, he was talking to a picture of Marco, saying that he knows revenge won't bring Marco back, but he wants to even the score. So Sidwell definitely still thinking revenge on Sonny is what needs to be known. Elsewhere in yesterday's episode was Jordan and Justine working out together. I've talked in the past how I do like their friendship, but they really didn't talk about anything interesting. Justine wanted Jordan to tell Sidwell that there's no way that Sonny killed Marco, and while Jordan agrees that there's probably no way that Sonny killed Marco, she doesn't know if she can get Sidwell to see that and believe that, and she's probably correct about that. Danny and Charlotte started the episode together while Charlotte was supposed to be doing work, which means that Jacinda interrupted them. Danny was trying to tell Charlotte about him getting in a fight at school with some boy named Hank, who I guess likes to maybe bully other people. Jacinda was being nosy and listening to Danny and Charlotte. And then afterwards, Jacinda and Charlotte had a conversation about how Charlotte is good at the job for someone who doesn't want to be there. And Charlotte was doing her usual complaining about being forced to work there so that people can keep an eye on her, yada, yada, yada. It was kind of more of the same. I do feel like the last two episodes of this show, we didn't really miss that much. I didn't end up feeling too bad that I didn't get to review Friday's episode because it really wasn't the most engaging. And honestly, neither was Monday's episode. The big point of the episode was the Sonny and Sidwell confrontation. But what ended up happening here with the Danny and Charlotte scenes is Danny ended up on Sonny's doorstep when Sonny and Ric were coming back from the funeral. He wanted to talk about his father, Jason, and the WSB. Sonny and Ric were trying to tell Danny that they are doing everything they can. Danny's another person talking about revenge, how he wants to make them all pay, starting with the real criminals and how the real criminals are the WSB. Basically, these scenes culminated in Danny telling Sonny he wants to do what Sonny does, and Sonny obviously trying to deny him and calm him down. I feel like it was a little soon for the writing to try and push Danny into the direction of the mob and wanting to take after his father, because Danny's like, what, 14, maybe 15 at most. It seemed like kind of a too soon thing to do. But yeah, Sonny denied him, and Danny ended up leaving in a huff. And then Ric and Sonny were alone to talk about Sidwell and how Sidwell is basically behind what happened to Jason because he's the reason that Jason and Britt were on the pier in the first place. And now they are able to get rid of Sonny's right-hand man in Jason. So Ric is sure that Sidwell is coming after Sonny now. And Ric would be right about that because we saw Sidwell being very dramatic, talking to Marco's picture about how he wants to even the score and all of that. The other stories in Monday's episode were definitely low-key. We had Stella visiting Portia, about how she's trying to get Portia and Curtis and Trina to all do up the baby's room and the crib together because it needs to be a family thing, even though Curtis and Portia are split up now. Meanwhile, Trina and Kai were visiting Curtis, which is because Stella was going to meet them there, and Stella wasn't telling them the surprise, so Curtis was a little worried about what Stella's surprise might be because Stella likes being mysterious, apparently. But Trina did tell Curtis about how she's going to be singing tonight, which of course makes Trina nervous right now. This is the direction they are having the Trina story going. Because they don't have any good ideas for the Trina character, apparently, so she's going to be a musical artist now. But then Stella arrived to tell them the good news about the decorating the nursery. Curtis did end up liking the idea, and Trina's going to be picking out the colors and stuff. Isaiah was not as pleased to hear this news when he was talking to Portia about it because he doesn't like the idea that Curtis gets to paint and decorate the nursery however Curtis wants it. And he just basically felt like Portia was kind of being a pushover here, even though Portia was really just trying to keep the peace. But Isaiah was right that Stella put Portia kind of like between a rock and a hard place, that if Portia denies this, she's seen like the bad guy again. But Portia seems content with this because she doesn't think that they're going to pick out a bad color because Trina has good taste or something. You know, not really the most dramatic stuff here. But I'm just kind of glad that they're moving Portia on from being bitter about Jordan and Curtis when she was equally to blame for their problems. So at least we're moving on from that. The other story was basically about the damn baby Phoebe and how Chase and Brook Lynn want custody of that baby and how Willow, of all people, is going to be helping them. Michael and Willow started the episode together because Michael wanted to talk to Willow about how Coach Kai is going to be coaching Wiley. That was all fine and dandy. The big part here is that Willow did come through for Chase and Brook Lynn to get them custody of baby Phoebe, which is, I think, in Willow's mind, Willow paying back Chase for going so hard for her to prove her innocence, even though she wasn't innocent. Of course, when she does come through for Chase and Brook Lynn, Chase is very excited, wants to walk her out. Brook Lynn concerned about that. So I don't know if they are keeping up that sort of love triangle or not. It seems like, and I do think they should, because outside of Willow being involved with Brook Lynn and Chase, they are very boring. Because does anyone really care about this baby Phoebe storyline? It kind of seemed to come out of nowhere, and it's sweet and all, but certainly not riveting.